All right, taking the hot tag, and what a hot tag it is. We got Bad Blood 2024, the latest WWE pay-per-view. I'll never call it a PLE. I don't like calling it PLE, but it's pay-per-view, but it
It's
does
awkward,
follow.
isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is, but it does follow this new WWE PLE format, which I do like. Keeping it short, sweet, several matches, good builds. So here we go. It opened up real hot. Punk and McIntyre, the whole basis of the show, basically opens Hell in a Cell, very first match opening the show, and they bled Rivers. Punk hit him with to open up Drew McIntyre. Punk hit him with a toolbox that was made of like diamond cut steel. It was gnarly, and it was a total like MJF throwback from when he hit him with the oxygen tank.
I heard it took
So
16 staples to put him back together.
yeah, basically, it was really nasty. Um, they go through a really basic Hell in a Cell match that's still good despite being kind of basic. But then Drew McIntyre puts stairs in the ring. He goes and goes to he gets Punk in there and he goes to do something to him on the stairs, but he pulls out a bag and you think it's thumbtacks, but it's not thumbtacks. It's a bag full of friendship bracelet beads. And he dumps them out all over Punk, and then he goes to claymore him into the stairs. And Punk moves after he's already launched himself for the claymore, so he hits lower back first on the corner of the stairs. It is gnarly. I recoiled so hard. But then Punk goes over while McIntyre's selling. He picks up a chain that had been previously used.
I don't think he's selling.
Probably not, no. But he picks up a chain that had been previously used in the match. He wraps it around his knee. He picks up a handful of these bracelet beads. He shoves them in McIntyre's mouth, and then GTS with the chain on the knee. 1, 2, 3, Punk wins. He sold it really well walking up the ramp. He collapsed, and they gave him oxygen, but then he got back up and still walked out on his 2 feet. While they had the camera on him, he was like, "I want my wife." The only thing he was asking for was his wife. McIntyre was somehow shown getting back to his feet, which I don't think should have happened, but distraught nonetheless. Really great match. 2 thumbs up on this one for me. Great payoff to this feud. I hope that's it. I hope it's over. They keep saying it. This is where it would end. I hope they stick to that. Next match was Nia versus Bayley. Typical Nia versus Bayley match. Bayley got Nia down. Stratton interfered. She hit Bayley with the case, but when she hit Bayley with the case, the referee had been bumped out. And the referee got up as she hit Bayley with the case and thought she was trying to cash it in, which Nia Jax then came to, and kind of like the previous night on SmackDown, sees what looks to be a cash-in situation happening while she's laid out. She's upset about it. But the Stratton interference basically, Bayley got hit with the case. Nia capitalized on that. Nia retains. So that also leads me to believe that still the cash-in will be Tiffany on Nia, new champion Tiffany Stratton. I mean, they're just telegraphing it at this point.
They're doing a lot of work trying to make you think that for something that if they're not going to do it, that's going to be one heck of a red herring.
Yeah. So thumbs up on the match for me. But it was mostly just to further the Stratton cash-in thing. Wish she or won't she thing.
I saw the Nia and Rana.
Yeah.
That was something.
It was something. Well, yeah. After that,
leave it at that.
Yeah. After that, Damian Priest defeated Finn Balor. He fought off Judgment Day interference because, of course, he did. And then beat Balor. Balor coup de grace him 4 times in a row. And then on the 5th one, he caught him in a chokeslam. And that was it. So
they did the Ultimate Warrior Randy Savage deal?
I guess so, man. He hit him so many times with that coup de grace. And I was like, as many times as they're doing it, Finn's got to win. But no, it basically rendered the coup de grace useless on Damian Priest, at least. After that, I mean, the match was good though. Serviceable match, good match. I didn't expect the finish, so anytime I don't expect the ending, thumbs up. So I didn't expect Damian Priest to win, so he did. Thumbs up for that. After that, there's a 10-minute period that I'm going to talk about later. I'm not going to talk about it right now, and I will explain that fully later. But anytime something like this happens on a WWE show, we will have a gap just like this, where I don't talk about this specific 10-minute period. I will tell you what happened later as I'm explaining why we won't talk about it in the future. But in the future, there will just be a gap like this where I don't talk about this particular 10 minutes. Okay. So after that 10 minutes is over, Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley with Dom in a shark cage. I always love the shark cage gimmick. I'm a sucker for it.
I'm a sucker for the shark cage too. It's so cool. I don't know. I always love it, even though it's super predictable every time.
Rhea came out with a roll of toilet paper with Dom's face all over it, which they're apparently now selling at WWEshop.com. Hell yes, know your people. Okay, he has such nuclear heat that toilet paper would only work with somebody like him. And yeah, I'd pay $16 to wipe his face on my ass. So she comes out with the toilet paper.
Explain that to guests though.
Right. She puts it in the cage. So then Dom and Liv come out, and then these two WWE shirted guys. They don't really look like local security. They look like maybe actual WWE officials of some kind. I've never seen them before. But they come up and kind of like very forcibly like shove Liv off and grab Dom and like put him in the cage. And, and like she's like, no, don't put him in there. They're like, shut up. And they just like escort him to the cage. Like it's very kind of rough right there. But they escort him to the cage. He's playing the pussy the whole time. He's sitting on the floor of the cage. He won't stand up. He doesn't stand up the entire time. So he's stuck in the cage. But then Rhea's like, second thing, because the first she was like, when they announced the stipulation, she was like, one thing I know about you is that you're claustrophobic as hell. So here's the shark cage. Then she comes out, once they get him in the shark cage, she comes out and she's like, oh, the other thing I know about you is that you're afraid of heights. So let's go ahead and hoist him up. So he's freaking out on the floor because he's being hoisted up, which I knew that was going to happen. It's a shark cage match. You hoist him up.
Shark cage. That's what you expect. How did he not expect it?
Liv is freaking out.
Ain't you never watched the show?
Right. So Liv's freaking out. What are you doing? Oh my gosh. And but he's playing the wuss the whole time. He's sitting on the floor of the cage. He's suspended pretty high up enough that there's definitely, I'll just say it now before I get to the rest of the match, there's definitely not going to be him jumping out of that cage spot. Okay.
Yeah.
He is not coming out of that cage willingly.
Yeah.
We'll say that. So they have their match. It's very good. I mean, Liv pulled out they said she calls it the home wrecker. It's pretty awesome. It's like a packaged Poison Rana. It's weird, but it was cool, man. The way she set it up, the way it's executed, it was really awesome. I liked it. Other than that, match not incredibly memorable, except for Rhea, while also selling a hurt leg, because Liv did really work on the leg, the previously injured leg. Liv went for an oblivion and Rhea backflipped out of it, which was really cool. I hadn't seen anybody do that with the oblivion before. So that was cool. She backflipped out of it. But then Dom got the cage door open, and then Rhea hit Liv with a riptide. And then she went to the referee and she's like talking to the referee a little bit. But while she's talking to the referee, Dom has got the cage door open and he falls out with a piece of chain wrapped around his ankle. So he basically becomes a human pinata below the shark cage. So he's hanging there underneath the shark cage.
How did he not like tear his ankle to shreds?
I don't know, but he fell out.
Incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, so he fell out with this chain wrapped around his ankle, and the chain hung him up like a human pinata. So then Rhea goes she goes to the referee. She's like, hey, she's knocked out. I'll be back to finish this in a second. Can you give me 1 minute to go handle some business outside the ring? And the referee said, he had the referee cam on so you could hear him. And they switched to the referee cam. He's like, yeah, you deserve that. And she goes, okay. So she goes out of the ring. She gets under the ring. She picks up a freaking kendo stick. She goes over to Dom while he's hanging from this chain, and she treats him like a human pinata. She just goes to town. She starts whooping his ass. At this point, I'm thinking
everybody hates, even the referees hate Dom.
Yeah, I guess so. Like, yeah, he gets so much heat in the referees.
Because I don't like that, honestly. Yeah,
but this is what leads to the finish, though. She's beating on him, and suddenly out of nowhere, this larger woman shows up and just smashes into Rhea Ripley, and then drags her into the ring. But so she smashes into her and starts beating her up, and the referee calls for the bell, so the match is over. Okay. But she drags Rhea into the ring and then puts Liv on top of her anyway. Bad move anyway. But at this point, we figure out it's Raquel Rodriguez.
Okay.
Who I thought was a face when she left, when she got injured or whatever, but I guess maybe not. I don't know.
Well, they'll probably write her some rationale.
But if they need a strong woman character to take on Rhea, this is a good choice. I didn't like the way the match ended, though. I didn't like her just kind of showing up and smashing her. I really wanted Rhea to get the bell back, so I really didn't like how it turned out. But, here we go. We're going to get more Rhea in Judgment Day, at least, if not more Damien in Judgment Day, which we probably will that too. So the match was kind of so-so for me, just based on the finish. But before that, like the Dom was hilarious. He still had his nuclear heat. It was very typical of what was going on. I thought the pinata spot was going to be good, but Michael Cole, when I thought he was going to say he's like a pinata, I guess thought that would be too racist or something, and because he's Hispanic, and said he's like a hung side of beef or hung piece of meat or something weird like that, and I was like, oh, that's not better. So Corey Graves then proceeded to agree with him that that's what he was also thinking. So I don't know, weird.
See, that would make sense if she beat him up with her hands, like doing the Rocky Balboa bit with the thing in the freezer. Like, you could make the argument there.
But she had the stick. I mean,
she beat him with a stick. Like, racist or not racist, that's the obvious thing that you go to.
Right.
And that's clearly the imagery they were going for.
Right? They had him hung up. Like, I mean,
which means that Dom was okay with it.
Yeah. Which means pinata.
Pinata.
Okay, so
at least they didn't get Oklahoma on the call.
Yeah. Oh God. So
pinata, candy, stick, movie, Dr. Death.
So yeah, the match kind of got an overall so-so from me, but that's, I mean, every show's got one. There it is. Then we had Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. The match itself was pretty good. The way they built the heat, I thought that Cody was going to take all the heat at first, but then they got Roman in pretty early, and he took a lot of heat. But then Cody got in and did take the pre-Hope, did take the Hope spot heat, did take the hot tag for Roman.
He was Ricky Morton.
Yeah, basically. So Roman came in, he cleaned house, but then the Bloodline interfered, as always, as they do. But then Roman gets Solo down. He's going for a spear. They interfere. Solo spears him instead. And then Solo then takes a long time to kind of set up his little thumb thing. He's got Roman down. He's yelling at him, I'm the real tribal chief. You let me down. You told me I was next in line. You lied to me. He's getting ready to go for the thing. And then, like, there's suddenly in between Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, there's a third guy standing outside the ring. And he's got on a black hoodie and a bandana over his face.
Oh, a black hoodie and a bandana over his face in Bloodline interference. I wonder who that could be.
Well, I wondered who it could be too. And then I realized this guy wasn't as tall as who I thought it could be. And then he super kicked Tama Tonga and he super kicked Tonga Loa and he ripped off his freaking hoodie and his a little mask, and it's Jimmy Uso returning. And he jumps in the ring and he's like telling Roman how much he loves him and shit. And then he jumps out. Roman goes for the spear, gets it, pins Solo 1, 2, 3. Then Jimmy gets in the ring and he's telling him how much he loves him. They do the big embrace, huge pop for the embrace. Like the pop for him kicking them too and then revealing was huge. It was really like one of the biggest pops of the night, easily. And then the pop for the hug was easily a point and a half higher. It was just, it was a good one. And then Cody Rhodes gets in the ring and he's got his belt in his hand. And, you know, him and Roman shake hands or whatever. And then Roman and Jimmy leave the ring. And then the Bloodline all get in and start beating up Cody Rhodes. And Roman looks back at the ring. And Jimmy looks at him and goes, we got to do the right thing. But whatever you want to do, like he's saying this to him, he's like, we got to do the right thing. But whatever you want to do, I'm with you. And Roman kind of looks at him and he looks back at the entrance. He looks back at the beatdown and he goes, all right, come on, fuck it. And they take off towards the ring and they go and they beat down the Bloodline. And then in the process of all that, you know, Cody's dropped his title belt. So Roman picks it up, kind of gives it the look. Then he kind of hands it over to Cody and they raise each other's hand. Okay, nothing fishy going on. And then, then the Rock's music hits and the Rock shows up. And he doesn't say a word. He just comes out. He stands there for like 2 solid minutes. He gives the people's eyebrow, which gets a pop, just that.
Well, of course it does.
Taps his chest a couple of times and acknowledges the pop, and then he walks away. And so that was it. That's when the show goes off the air. But then today on Twitter, they posted an after the show segment where Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens are talking to each other and they're out by Cody's bus and Kevin Owens beats up Cody Rhodes. So I guess we're going to see how that all turns out tomorrow night on Raw. But that's what happened at Bad Blood. I thought it was a really good show. Yeah, I guess it will be on SmackDown. Okay. Either way, we'll be covering it next week. But yeah, I mean, Bad Blood was overall a good show, man. I thought most of the matches were real hot. As far as what I liked and what I didn't like, I really liked the Hell in a Cell match. Bam. It was really good. I really liked Jimmy Uso's return. Freaking fantastic. What I didn't like.
Know where this is going.
Anytime the WWE mentions or has a show in Saudi Arabia, I will not be participating. I'm
not going to expect you to.
As someone who is previously a published journalist, I have a moral difference that cannot be reconciled with the government of Saudi Arabia and the country of Saudi Arabia. So anytime the WWE does anything there, I will not be participating. However, what happened here was they unveiled a new belt that is ugly as sin.
It is. I saw the pictures.
It's ugly as sin. I don't have a lot good to say about this. Okay, the segment started. He says we're going to have a thing in Saudi Arabia every year at Crown Jewel now, where the active champions from each brand will face each other. Those titles will not be on the line, but this title will. For men and women, all the titles. But this title will be for the champions of each brand, the men's champion, I guess, of each brand. And whoever wins that match will win this title. So I guess it's going to be a yearly belt that they carry around, kind of like the King of the Ring thing, where they're going to say, you know, I'm the Crown Jewel champion because they beat the other person. I actually really like this concept, but I hate doing it on Saudi Arabia.
You know what it is? They listened to our podcast and sniped our idea.
Yeah,
for the Continental Classic. That's what they did. Clearly.
So either way, they're doing it in Saudi Arabia, which I hate because I really like the concept of what's happening here. However, this belt is ugly as sin. Saudi Arabia is a boo-boo country. I apologize to anybody who is listening to us from Saudi Arabia. I'm sure we are illegal there.
Probably.
But if you are listening to us from there, we love you. We just don't like your government. But I will not be, other than that, I will not be participating in talking about Saudi Arabia. Now, Gunther came out during this segment and then kind of pointed out Bill Goldberg in the audience and started picking on him. And then Bill Goldberg came over.
I thought he was his favorite.
Yeah, but then Bill Goldberg comes over the railing and a bunch of security holds him off. And Gunther is going to leave. And Sami Zayn attacks Gunther. And that's what gets Gunther to leave. They fight their way out of the arena, basically. And that's what gets Gunther to leave. And then Goldberg celebrates like Triple H holds up Goldberg's hand and they celebrate like Goldberg did something. Overall, complete boo-boo segment. The biggest black eye on this thing. I will forgive all the crap I don't like about the women's match because this was absolute crap. I don't like it. I'm never going to like the Saudi Arabia thing, and that's the last I'll say about it. But the Goldberg and Gunther thing on top of it was stupid. The way they had Goldberg celebrating over nothing was stupid. I didn't like it at all. Now, back to what I did like. The overall show was really good. I liked it. The show, it had a good pace. Everything was really cool. I knew what was going on in all the matches. They were all properly built. The finishes of stories that were being finished were good. The progression of the Bloodline story was good. Like I said, I don't really like the new Bloodline, but I like the story and I like, like what's going on over there. So bringing The Rock in, what's going to happen? Like SmackDown's going to be a crazy episode because we're going to have like a lot of things going on. Raw too. I'm just kind of waiting to see what's going on there, but I'm really looking forward to like Sami Zayn and Gunther on Raw this week. That's kind of what's at the forefront of my mind now that Bad Blood's over. But yeah, I mean, Punk and McIntyre put on a masterpiece of a Hell in a Cell match. I give the show overall 2 thumbs up. So yeah, it was really good.
On.
Heck yeah. And now Hot Tag's over. That tag team match is over. But now we're going to have another one and call it in the ring. So all right, now it's time for our Call It in the Ring segment. Adam, do you want to explain to our dear listeners how this works?
Yes. Our Call in the Ring segment is something different every week. Last week, we told you a little bit about ourselves and about our fandom and how we got to this point in our fandoms. Kind of explains a little bit about what we like, about how we look at wrestling, that kind of stuff. This week's is also going to allow you to get inside our heads a little bit, but in a much different way. The purpose of this whole segment is to be different every week. And this week, we've decided to do something that I've been thinking about for weeks. I'm very excited to share my take on this. But basically, what Aaron and I are going to do, we have been tasked by each other to basically pitch a concept for our own wrestling organization. There were a couple of guidelines that we agreed on. Number one, that it would be a television that, there would be a certain budget. There would be expectations in terms of, probably just the one weekly show. What were the other things that we agreed on? Oh, and that we would have our choice of 3 wrestlers to basically draft from anywhere in the world. It doesn't matter where they are now, whether they're available, whether they're injured or not. We get 3 people basically to build our Fed around, and that we're building a concept. So we're trying to, if we had complete freedom and budget wasn't really a concern, what would we do? What would we want to do? What would we want to do on TV that's not really being offered by the main players in at least the North American wrestling scene? So, Aaron, I am very, very excited to hear your pitch. I will leave it up to you. I'm going to let you go first.
All right. Okay. So for mine, I'm still kind of iffy on what a name would be, so I'm not sure. But I would have a Fed with a concurrent. So this is a TV Fed, so we're gonna have one show a week, with AEW WWE running. I'm presuming. So we're gonna say Monday, Friday, Wednesday, Saturday. With NXT running typically on like Tuesday nights or Wednesday nights also. I'd go for a Thursday night show just to, in the casual wrestling fans calendar that fits, so a Thursday night show. However, the way I would handle it would be, it would be a lot like Lucha Underground, where we have live wrestling and cinematically filmed promo spots and in between stuff like that. And also we're going to film everything kind of over a few days or a few weeks at this one location where we have a studio. However, concurrently with the airing of said season, I would have a live tour going on. So the champions at the live shows or whoever's on TV, we book the live show each night as if the TV show has happened for the week, or the previous show happened, um, and we would probably run the other 4 nights of the week, or not Sunday, not Monday. So Tuesday through Saturdays, except Thursday because that's the night the show is on. So you run Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, probably each week in a different town each day, kind of old territory style, but concurrent with the season. And then at some point during the year, maybe there's 2 seasons a year, so we have maybe a 3-month break in between or something like that, where maybe promos or reruns are all we're running. If we run new content, it's promos that the wrestlers are doing themselves, a lot like a lot of the indie feds do these days, where hey, you're booked here. The guy who booked you says, I need 3 5-minute promos between now and the date you're booked, and they all go up on the YouTube or whatever. So we'd have like stuff like that maybe they can come into studio days or something on the off time. But off time is important, and that's the biggest thing. I want at least a few months a year where the wrestlers are not working and nobody's pressured to be doing anything. I mean, except for maybe coming into a studio day or two here or there, but very not a lackadaisical schedule by all means. I mean, the time when the seasons are running, it's going to be a hard, rough schedule like wrestling is, but with the appropriate time off in between each set of these to heal up and be ready for the next go around, and maybe at this point, if somebody doesn't like during the breaks, if they don't like the way it's going, they can be granted their release. Because that's one thing I don't want to do like WWE or AEW does, where if somebody says, hey, I want out of here, okay, cool, bye. There's no questions asked. It'd be in the contract.
Independent contract.
Yeah, you're an independent contract. If you don't want to do this, you don't have to go. But aside from the amenities, providing medical care, and if budget's not a concern, travel and all that stuff as well, because I still don't think wrestlers should be paying for their own travel. When WWE is providing Cody Rhodes with a bus and making people like Bailey pay for their hotel room and flights, that's not a good look, yo. Like, pay for their shit, please. And pay them on top of that. Like, don't consider that part of their payment. Like, pay their shit and then pay them. You're going to have to eventually, because Tony Khan's, as I understand, is doing that. So, bro. And he's paying for people to come from England and Japan every week.
Yeah.
I promise he's paying.
Up real quick.
Yeah, I promise he's paying for Kenny Omega to go to Japan and pick up work clothes. Yeah. So, which hopefully we'll get a return soon. But anyway, I think that's that's kind of the vibe. I want to go for a seasonal thing, and a tour to go along with the seasonal thing, and then time off for the wrestlers after the season's over, where we further stories by maybe like a BTE type thing, to further the stories along while we're not wrestling per se.
What is it that Matt Cardona says? It's free advertising.
Yeah, free advertising. Exactly. So
like, it doesn't cost anything to post your own videos on YouTube or on TikTok or on Twitter or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's free advertising. If you have the time and you have the drive, do it. Right. You don't lose anything by it except the time. So
right. And now my 3 draft, I mean, that's a pretty good thing for me, and paying for everybody's travel or whatever we got to do. Tour buses are expensive, so are flights, whatever. If we're not talking about budget, whatever they want, For my draftees, though, we can loop it right back. Kenny Omega is my first. I've not always.
He's a good pick.
Yeah, I've not
assuming his diverticulitis is obviously
gone,
not going to impact him further down the line.
Yeah, and Brock is proof that you could have the worst of that happen and have the surgery and everything and come back and be a proficient wrestler.
That's true. And like my best friend Ben, he had diverticulitis. He's a normie. He's no athlete. He's one of us, and it has really, really impacted him. So there is a part of me that, for his own well-being, kind of hopes that Kenny Omega never comes back to wrestle, because I don't want to see him die in the ring because of some stupid poo pockets.
True.
True. I would love to see him wrestle again if he could guarantee that he would be healthy. I am a big fan of Kenny Omega, and I'm not going to get down on you for your choice, because this is fiction. So, right, yeah. But I feel like I need to put it out there as far as the real world is concerned.
Mm.
I hope he gets better and does what he needs to do to stay better and stay healthy.
Right.
But for the sake of this segment, yeah, that's a good pick. That's a real good pick. I like that pick.
I wasn't always convinced on Kenny Omega, but my brother Zach was always a big fan. Yeah. And he kind of brought me around. He was like, no, you really got to pay attention to this guy. He can make some good matches. But the first match he showed me was the Okada match that was supposed to be 7 stars. And I wasn't really into that one as much as other people were. Like, I liked it. It was good.
That one benefits from having watched the other matches.
Yeah, so I didn't watch the other matches. But then, like, I was coming around, and then that match with Hangman was really good. And I was like, okay. And then he had the match with Danielson, the draw. And I was like, holy shit. All right. Okay. Now I see where the 7-star best bout machine comes from.
Yeah.
Like, I get that. Like, now I'm all North Carolina. I do
that match with Takeshita.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, Kenny Omega, number 1 pick, easily. Just if we're doing fiction and injuries and all that don't matter, he's my number 1. After that, see, this is where it gets kind of convoluted, because I have like a solid number 1, but who would be my number 2 and number 3? And you got to think about different people and who's out there and what's going on. But
I mean, the problem with it is bittersweet, really, because it's so difficult to choose. But the reason it's so difficult to choose is because there's such a glut of talent out there. There's never been a generation of wrestling this talented across the board.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, as the art form ages and more people get into it, from a perspective of wanting to be a part of it and experimenting with new and different things, it grows and it grows and it grows. And so finding that talent, you're never going to be at a loss for talent. You just need to be able to find it. That's all. It's like what was it in Ratatouille, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody can cook doesn't mean everybody has the talent. It means anybody could have the talent. It can come from anywhere. The next big thing, the next generational wrestler could come from anywhere. You just have to find them. Right. That's all.
So that being said, that kind of helps me make my decision, because what I was thinking here was, do I have 2 people who are currently on TV or on ROH, which is kind of on TV, or on TNA, which is also kind of on TV? That's based on viewership, so do I have one of these people who people know their name, or do I want to make new stars? And I'm thinking a lot about it, and I'm like, you know what? With that response also, I think new stars. So now, do I pick younger people that are still already on TV, or do I go deep cut and talk about some wrestlers that I know would be fantastic on TV who are not on TV? And that's where I think I'm going. So the 2 other guys besides Kenny Omega, which is, it's crazy to say, like, I've got this best bout machine, one of the only 7-star match guys in the world. My other 2 guys are going to be complete indie guys who a lot of our listeners are not going to know who these people are. But I am going to preface all of this with saying, you fucking should. Okay? You should. So I'll go into it. All right. The first one is actually an old friend of mine, somebody I've worked with for years in the business. He predates my time in the business by a couple years, probably. He's still actively wrestling. His name is Justin Taylor. He's called the Living Proof. He's the current, I believe he's the current SCPW champion down here in Texas, but he works at a place called Square Circle Pro, where I also work occasionally. And Justin has been a good hand since been a good hand. Okay. I'm pretty sure he's been on WWE and AEW TV, either as a maybe on. Okay, he was definitely on Dark or Elevation. He was on one of those. He definitely. I can't remember who he wrestled, but he was on there. Justin Taylor has been on AEW in the ring. It's a very good match for what it is. But he's been on AEW. I'm pretty sure he's been a security guy in WWE, like when they go to Odessa and stuff like that. Like he's one of the guys they bring up.
Looks like he was on Tough Enough.
Yeah, he's done some tough. I don't know if he's on Tough Enough, but he did a Tough Enough.
The Living Proof.
The Living Proof, Justin Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I found him on YouTube.
So just to give you an idea of this guy's size, he did go to work at WrestleMania week 2 years ago for WWE, and he was in the gym, and he took a picture with Elias and Rick Boogs. Okay, and he didn't look out of place as far as size goes.
Okay.
He wasn't always this big either. Guys definitely worked his ass off to get this big. But I would bring Justin in because he has a way to get over with the fans really, really well. He's a great white meat babyface. He's even better when he gets pissed off and goes full heel. I've seen him as a white meat babyface, but I've also seen him as like when I first met him, he was in this stable, and they were like they were Muslim terrorist heels at the time. And he was like, yeah, he was like the black guy in the group with all the Middle Eastern guys with, the little hat on and all that. Yeah. But he was fantastic, man. He was just so good. And now he's kind of some places he's babyface, some places he's an indie worker. He works in a lot of places. Yeah. He holds the title pretty much everywhere he works. Fantastic worker, super good size on him. I would definitely bring him into a national promotion if I had a chance. Just because he's a solid hand. Now, the other guy is still a solid hand, but it's going to be here more for the spectacle. And let me explain that. Oh my gosh. You know what? As soon as I start talking about him, and I've already thought about him, like how to explain him to everyone, I've kind of lost what his name was. And now I feel like an a-hole.
That's okay. We can edit it in so you don't look like one.
Yes, we can. In fact, I might edit this part out.
Make a note.
Yeah, making a note. But I got to remember I got it. Okay. So the other guy he's a good hand, but he's going to be more for the spectacle. And let me explain that. His name is Mike Schaefer. Mike Schaefer works at Metroplex Wrestling in Dallas. Now, I've heard a lot about Metroplex Wrestling outside of my normal circles because it's kind of gaining some traction down here regionally. Like people are tuning into Metroplex. And so MPX Wrestling down here in Texas, they got a lot going on, but they've got Mike Schaefer. And currently he's not working that often because I believe he actually is moving kind of more into the film world right now. But his gimmick is that he's a movie star and he's got an entourage, and his little tag team partner, Sebastian, who's like half his size, is the director. And so they've got the best picture is the name of their tag team. And they have like this whole entourage of people because they're supposedly, they got their executives and stuff like that. But Mike is a big, I don't want to insult him, but I'm going to say probably north of 300 guy.
Ooh, okay.
He's about 6'3", 6'4". He's tall fella. He's quite a bit taller.
Yeah, I think I found him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
He's a big boy. Okay, that big boy does the.
Looks look good in a suit though.
Okay, yeah, he looks good in a suit. Works a great mic, fantastic mic worker, and biggest surprise. And I don't know if you'll see a clip of this while I'm telling you, but Mike has the highest elevation on a moonsault I've ever seen of someone that size.
Really?
He has a moonsault that stops a crowd dead. Like, wow, this is an awesome match. Holy shit. And silence. Oh. Like, yeah, when I was watching it, the first time it happened, I was standing behind the curtain because I was reffing at the show, but I'm standing behind the curtain watching this match, like, because the boys gather up at the curtain. at indie shows. We either if they have a monitor, we gather up at the monitor. If they don't have a monitor, which this place didn't, we gather up at the curtain and we watch the show. So we're gathered up at the curtain. We're watching. He did that shit, and I heard the freaking breath in the gorilla position come out of the fucking room, along with the fucking 400-seat arena outside that had probably 150 or 200 people in it. The breath just came out of the whole fucking building, bro. Like, it was just like, I couldn't fucking believe it. When he got back to the back, I was like, I don't know what to say to you right now because I don't want to offend you by saying something. He's like that I'm the biggest god that ever did something like that. I'm like, yeah, I've never seen somebody your size, like aside from Vader, pull some shit off like that. Yeah. And he's like, you're comparing me to Vader. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. So, I mean, wrestlers take compliments really well when you're awkward because we're all awkward back there.
Yeah. My gosh.
But
I can tell you stories.
That guy, he's good at working a mic. If you don't want to have him in the ring, he's good at working a mic. He could work a mic for someone really easily. I would want him in the ring, though, just on that moonsault alone. But pushing past the moonsault, the guy is a solid worker. So, yeah. So my guys are Kenny Omega, Justin, Living Proof Justin Taylor, and one half of Best Picture, Mike Schaefer, which, since it's Mike Schaefer, I would at least have a manager for him. So Sebastian gets to come too. I personally love Sebastian to death. He's super professional. At a couple of the feds I work at, he does all our video work. He's super good at it. He's always been a really cool guy. And I would have them as a tag team, but since I only get one person to pick, I pick Mike, and I want Sebastian to come in and be.
You know what? I'm gonna make a change.
Okay.
I should have said 3 acts.
Okay, cool.
Not necessarily 3 individuals.
Okay, well,
so if you want them as a tag team, bring them in.
Hell yeah. Okay, Sebastian, for all the reasons I just said, also with Mike Schaefer, I want Best Picture together because they're a fantastic tag team. They play off the big man, small man dynamic really well. Sebastian, even though he's a smaller guy, is really like well built and stocky and just like kind of like John Silver with unrealistic proportions. You know, but he's those arms, man, are just, I feel like he's got implants, but I know better.
Crazy. They're crazy.
Yeah, but Sebastian's kind of like that, but super believable and also a really good mic worker and an asset to any fed. If I said, hey man, I just feel like the production on these episodes is lacking, I could just pull Sebastian and be like, hey, I'll pay you a little extra. Come give me a hand. I know you're good at this kind of thing. So even though I would have a production team, I have this active wrestler who is suddenly kind of like a Swiss Army knife also backstage, you know, which every wrestler loves that because if you can't suddenly wrestle and you're good backstage, you get to keep your job. And that's important too. I think the only other rule with my Fed beyond those 3 guys and what I've already previously stated is that nobody loses their job because they have a kid or get injured or we're down in business. If I hired you, and I've already budgeted you in. So if we're down on business, that's too bad. I'm already paying this money. So that would be my big thing. And since budget's not a concern, pay them.
Yeah.
You know, if they get injured, add the time on like anybody would in a contract because I still want to see that person wrestle. But I'm not going to stop paying them because they're sitting at home, and I'm not going to fire them because they're having to sit at home either. And if I do have to fire somebody for any reason, I'm sure as hell not going to go on TV and tell anybody that I feared for my life, and I'm sure as hell not going to do it by fax, which I think are the 2 biggest mistakes that have ever been made in wrestling as far as firing somebody. I think you should keep that shit private, period. That's not Tony Khan saying that is not why I think it was a bad idea. I think it's just because it should have been private. We fired him. Don't talk to the dirt sheets.
Yeah. Same goes for McMahon and Jeff Jarrett.
Yeah, McMahon and Jeff Jarrett, same thing. But Bischoff firing Stone Cold via fax. Probably and
X-Pac.
But those 2 guys during the Attitude Era or pre-Attitude Era, like right when it's about to kick off, firing those 2 guys.
Stunning Steve was a winner.
Oh, he sure as hell was.
I mean, he wasn't as big a winner as Stone Cold Steve Austin.
I'm a Hollywood Blonde stan, man. I am a total Hollywood Blonde stan in this. Yeah, hell yes. So, yeah.
Some of my earliest wrestling memories involve the Hollywood Blondes, and even before them, the Dangerous Alliance. The Dangerous Alliance was peak. Good stuff. It was like they were the Horsemen, but they weren't the Horsemen.
Yeah, peak 80s heel stuff right there for sure.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I see. Fun, like man. This is why I'm glad that we did you first, because you
Okay.
took it in, made considerations that I didn't make in my pitch. Because you come from inside, having worked in the industry, whereas I
Yeah.
haven't. So like
Right.
very much like this podcast, I focused a little bit more on the creative side rather than the technical side. For
Okay.
anybody who listening who doesn't already know, my role in this is very minimal compared to Aaron. Aaron is doing so much more work than I am, and it's because he's good at it and he has knowledge about it that I don't have. I am not a tech guy at all. Aaron is doing so much work, and I'm so grateful for it, because I couldn't do this. He's allowing me to lean more into my strengths, which is a little bit more creative than technical. And so to tie that, first of all, thank you, Aaron, for continuing to do this. You should get the praise. Okay, you should get this, so please take it. Um,
All right.
uh, you guys, you really don't understand. I am not built for the technical aspects of this. So having Aaron do pretty much all of it it is a blessing for me. And it also uh, is reflected in your pitch, because you worried about uh, the technical aspects of the business side of it and taking care of people, which is one of the things I admire about you, is that you do have that empathy for people. Whereas, especially, I mean, in this hyper capitalistic world that we live in, that the caring about people so often falls by the wayside in the face of making the almighty dollar. And so, like, it's good to know that you considered those things enough to make that part of your pitch. Um, and it also makes me feel a little insecure, because I did not even consider that. I'm sorry, fictional wrestlers. That said, um, I guess I'll go into my pitch. Okay, so my pitch is a different way of presenting professional wrestling that people have kind of gone up to the line with a little bit, but hasn't really gotten there. And since this is a fictional scenario, we're going to pretend that whatever TV execs are letting me on the air are going to let me do what I want. And what I want to do is kind of lean even more into the sports presentation of wrestling. I am a big fan. I love storylines. Don't get me wrong. I love a good storyline. I love great characters, and none of those will be absent in theory from this particular endeavor. But the presentation will mostly be sports based. I want to try and create an MMA style presentation. Not so much rings or UWFI, but in the fact that it's going to be divisional. There are going to be equal divisions. And like, you look at the UFC, and each of their divisions champion is a world champion. They are their divisional champion. They are referred to as world champions. None of the divisional champions are on any lesser level or higher level than any of the other divisions. The featherweight champion isn't seen as lesser than the heavyweight champion simply because they're in a lower weight division. They're seen as equal prizes within the weight division. I want to try something like that in wrestling. Like, there have been halfway measures, and a lot of times, WCW has Cruiserweight Championship. New Japan to this day has a junior heavyweight division, which is generally excellent. But that's two weight divisions, two vast weight divisions,
Right.
and kind of ill-defined, really, to be honest.
Right.
My concept is for there to be 3 divisional champions and then a tag team championship. Tag team championship, whoever, throw them in. It's not going to be delineated by weight. But I want to have, I would probably, for tradition's sake, call the lighter weight class the cruiserweight championship. That'll go up to 205 and under.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere between 205 and let's say 265, middleweight championship. Anything 265 and above is heavyweight championship. I want the heavyweight championship to be the real heavies, okay? And each one of those divisions will probably, considering the types of talent that generally occupy those weight classes in real life, will probably develop distinct styles on their own. You're going to see probably in the 265 division a lot of big meaty men slapping meat. You're probably going to see in the cruiserweight division, probably going to see a lot of high flyers, and the middleweight is probably going to be kind of a fusion of pretty much everything, because that's generally the weight class that most wrestlers tend to fall in.
Mm-hmm.
So I would establish those 3 titles in inaugural tournaments, because you know me, I love a tournament. And I would build those. I would build that up. I would have probably 4 pay-per-views a year. And after the third pay-per-view would end with the announcement that the 4th pay-per-view, which would be mark around the 1-year anniversary, that whoever is the champion of each of those divisions at the end of the grading period, which would be probably up to I would give it probably 4 weeks up until, give a proper 4-week build. Whoever's the champions of those individual divisions, a month ahead of that final pay-per-view, wouldn't have to defend the belts anymore for the rest of the year up until that time, because those 3 champions would face each other in a triple threat match for the World Openweight Championship.
Okay.
I hate the term World Heavyweight Championship when anybody can. It's so ingrained in wrestling culture that people just kind of assume that it's an openweight championship because it's treated like one, but it's not.
Yeah.
Distinguishes one. I'm going to make that distinction. It's a World Openweight Championship, the champion of champions.
Okay.
Furthermore, the tag team division would, by implication, be an openweight championship. Mm-hmm. Because what are tag teams what's the purpose of tag teams if they're all going to be in a weight division? Like, right. you miss out on those big guy, small guy teams. You miss out on the DIYs on the smaller end. You miss out on the Brothers of Destruction on the other end. It's then you in the middle you've got everybody else. Like, that's automatically going to be an open weight championship from the get. But the divisional singles titles are going to be those. Okay. And the 3 people to build those divisions around. Heavyweight side, this was very tough for the record.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Again, there's so much talent. But assuming that he can keep healthy, my main heavyweight star, Keith Lee.
I knew it. Because you stand Keith Lee.
I love Keith Lee. Please get better soon, big guy. I miss seeing you on my TV. I was there in person for his AEW debut, and I marked out like crazy. When he yeeted Isaiah Cassidy and he screamed his high-pitched scream, I thought that was just the best thing ever. It was perfect. And he still needs his revenge on Swerve, by the way. Still needs it. Hangman isn't the only one that he screwed over on route to the top. That's neither here nor there, though. Middleweight guy. It's got to be Will Ospreay. other than Bryan Danielson, who I will leave for retirement, go home, take care of your kiddos. That's fine. Do what you want to do. You've earned it. You're arguably the greatest in-ring performer of all time. Go. You've earned it.
Yeah.
So in his because that would be my pick, but in his place is Will Ospreay, who is going to inherit that position.
Yeah.
Essentially, in if he hasn't already, in many people's eyes, he already has inherited the best bell-to-bell wrestler title.
He's fantastic,
of this gender. He's amazing, and seeing him live is even more surreal because he has that special quality. Like we talked about it a bit last week, but he's great as a heel, and he's an incredible baby face. He is insanely likable. As soon as he puts his real personality out there, it's hard. It's really difficult to not root for him.
Right.
And then the third one in the cruiserweight division, I will give you 3 guesses. And this time I promise I will give you 3 guesses because you're not going to guess it. I'll give you 3 guesses who it's going to be in that spot.
For the cruiserweight division.
Mm-hmm. So 205 or under.
Mm-hmm. Pac.
No. He'd be great though. Yeah, love Pac. I honestly feel like he's too often overlooked in best pound for pound wrestler conversation. He should be in that conversation more often than he is.
Yeah.
But it's not him.
Darby?
No. Although I do love me some Darby Allin, and he would be a good pick.
Let's see here. Orange Cassidy.
No, I do stand Orange Cassidy. You and I are both in on the guy with the pockets. No. Yeah. No. The reason that you can't guess it is because I haven't revealed the other big twist that makes this Fed unique.
Okay.
My third pick is Becky Lynch.
Oh, okay.
This Fed doesn't have gender boundaries.
Oh.
Anybody can compete as long as they weigh enough.
All right.
So I want, and I feel like Becky Lynch would add that star power because nobody is better than the man.
That's true.
I love the man.
Yeah.
Huge fan. From the very instant that I saw her doing a very bad Irish dancing routine on NXT, I was like, that's my girl. Her right there. It spoke to my Irish genes, and I was like, okay, no, this is my girl. I was right on board. I was cheering like crazy. We went, Tracy and I went to Evolution on Long Island, but they should have made that a yearly thing, by the way. Should have made that an annual event.
Yeah, they should.
But that's neither here nor there. And I was cheering like crazy in her last woman standing match against Charlotte, and I was not alone.
Oh, yeah.
That woman has such a command over an audience and such a respect from her peers. This is a woman who got Stone Cold Steve Austin to sell a stunner from her and lie there like he died. If Stone Cold can sell for Becky Lynch, nobody should have trouble selling for Becky Lynch.
No, nobody at all.
So I understand that the way that the weight works out, that the vast majority of the women in the Fed are going to be in the cruiserweight division. That's okay. You ever seen a Candice LeRae match? Yeah, it works. Okay. Yeah. Like there have been some matches with Candice in PWG, where she was wrestling dudes all the time. They're just amazing. I'm going into this assuming that the audience already knows that wrestling is predetermined. And therefore, it's not that big a leap to have them accept as part of their suspension of disbelief that if someone like Rey Mysterio can beat the Big Show, there's no reason why Becky Lynch couldn't beat Keith Lee.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's fiction, and the point is you're buying in. We'll get you there. We'll get you there halfway. That's the goal. Is we'll get you there halfway as long as you believe the rest of the way. Yeah. So, yeah, that's my pitch. It's non-gendered wrestling presented in an MMA kind of format, and with at the end of the year a world openweight championship that isn't determined by weight, but basically by who the audience would rather see win. Who do they want to be essentially their ultimate world champion? And in the interim, each of those divisional titles, not one of them is going to be positioned above the other one. There's no, okay, this is your world champion, your intercontinental champion, your European champion, your hardcore champion. None of that. All of your champions are seen as equals, which I feel only bolsters the stock of the believability of your wrestlers and the product that you put on. And for the kicker, mostly to pop you, but also because it's a great name that should be stolen because nobody else has stolen it, and it's just from a freaking E-Fed. I'm calling it Ring of Pride and Excellence.
Hell yeah. All right.
Because why not? I mean, it's not like the dudes that ran that E-Fed probably, I don't think they trademarked the name. No. So that's what I would do. That's what I would do.
Oh yeah. I love that. I really like that idea. The classes and then the open weight at the end of the year. Whoever the fans wanted to win basically wins. You can send them home happy at the big show.
Yeah.
And
there will be storylines, and there will be feuds that aren't necessarily for the championship. Most of the focus will be on non-title matches. Will be in getting into a position for a title shot, like in a real sport, like in MMA, boxing, and all that. But the focus will be on, okay, I want to be in that triple threat match at the end of the year. I got to get there.
Yeah.
That's the ultimate prize, because that means that I'm better not just in one division. I'm better than everybody.
Right. Oh, yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. It's fucking cool. I'd like to see it. Hopefully one day we'll get to see some crazy stuff like this one way or the other.
Tony, pass me the book.
Yo, give us the book, Tony. We'll take it. We will take it, bro. We'll gladly take it. And I'll even run with some of the stuff you're already doing because you're getting better. I'll give you that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. Rebounding. Yeah. I mean, there was they essentially last year they tried a lot to be kind of WWE light. Mm-hmm. They really emphasized more of the entertainment. Not that entertainment is bad. I'm saying that more of the more comedic stuff, the stuff that doesn't really have to do necessarily with wrestling. Like, don't get me wrong, MJF is an incredible talent. He is a generational talent, as he claims. But a lot of what he did, specifically with the Adam Cole stuff, was kind of hokey. Like, I enjoyed a lot of it. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed a lot of it because I am a corny dude myself. But that's not the kind of stuff you do with a world champion. You know?
I feel that. Yeah.
Because it almost makes the title feel like it's not important enough to take seriously.
Yeah. Right.
But if they focus on, characters being what they want to be without shoehorning them into weird situations, that collaborate. I mean, look at the Tony Storm Mariah May thing. It has been brilliant.
Oh yeah.
It was every step of the way was fantastic. So they know, that they can do that kind of storyline correctly. And even though Tony's character is admittedly very over the top, it's to my taste, and I don't mind that, but it's very over the top, and I have to admit that it still works because the storyline that she's in caters to her character without leaning into the most ridiculous aspects of it and requiring that of other people that she's interacting with.
Right.
It's not like the reason that Adam Cole and MJF didn't work is because there was no straight man.
No.
They were both two funny guys, and there wasn't somebody to react to it like a straight man would be like, this is silly, this is ridiculous. There was no audience surrogate there.
Right.
Anyway, that, you know what, that's off topic. So and this is probably not nearly as long as last time, but still probably too long. So
right.
So let's take it home.
All right. Well, that was our podcast for the week. I appreciate everybody who came out to listen to us last week. Hopefully you come back this week. Hopefully you come back next week. Like I said before, our shops are up. You can find us at our Linktree, under Linktree at Spark Foundation Podcast. You can find us pretty much everywhere at Spark Foundation Podcast everywhere you listen, except Apple right now, but we are working on that, and we will have that up soon. And Adam, you want to take her home?
Thank you guys so much for listening. Please, if you do like our content, please interact with us on Twitter. We'll leave, I believe our Twitter accounts are on our Linktree, so you can contact either one of us at our individual accounts or the podcast account itself. Doesn't matter. We'll get a hold of it. Please, we would love to interact more with you guys. So
absolutely,
tell people about us if you like us. Check out our shop because apparently it's up. I didn't even know that until today. Great. Yeah, I want to see some of my friends wearing the logo that I drew. It'd make my heart happy.
Having my heart happy.
No, for real, guys, though, if you do like us, make sure you tell all your wrestling friends that especially if they want a little bit more positivity in the fandom, please help us boost our signal.
Heck yeah, we're all about it. We appreciate you folks. Y'all have a great week, and we will see you next week before Raw.